1-0 to the Arsenal. I guess that's never sounded better than tonight.
Yeah, we needed a result today in a really difficult place. Our history wasn't very much in favor of any result today. It's so much at stake, and we are really happy with the results.
You were in the right place to score the goal that won the game. You seem to have found this goal-scoring form at just the right time. You've timed your run.
Yeah, it's a good timing for sure. I always want to impact the game, and yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot, and helping the team as well. Yeah, it's what you are a football player for. So yeah, hopefully next week again, and you never know what's going to happen.
Well, Eric, it's not the result that you wanted, but is there a big positive difference for you from Monday?
Yeah, it is, but still it's disappointing, and I want to win. And it doesn't matter who is on the pitch. We have to win every game, and when you wear this badge, you have to give everything, and yeah, the demand is win games.
And again, it was a makeshift defence, a patched-up defence. How important is it to get defenders back for these crucial last 2 games and the cup final?
We talk already all season and about this. You want to have players who are have the competences to play there. Now we have to play players there in positions they are not used to, and then it's obviously that they make mistakes.
How will you watch Tuesday? I'm sure you will.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch tomorrow's game as well, like we always do, and we know what we need.
I think the feeling after Monday was that you needed a performance today, even in defeat. Did you get that today?
Now, we have seen we were very competitive with Arsenal, one of the best teams in the league, with City and Momentum fighting for the league, for the title. And we have seen, I think we were on the same level across the game. So there we see, even when we're missing 7 start 11 players, potential start 11 players, we were in the game, and we could have a result.
Casemiro's had a difficult few weeks, taking a bit of stick. What did you make of his performance today, especially playing out of position again?
Yeah, but he can do that. On Monday, obviously, it was not his night, but there was collectively poor performance, and then everyone looks poor. But you can see he can play there in that position, and I think today he was in the right level.
He looked like maybe he had a point to prove, a player maybe with his pride slightly hurt by Monday.
Oh, absolutely. He's a winner. He hates to lose, and that also he has to bring that in the team, and that is what we expect from him.
There was 1 or 2 questions about the goal and whether he was too deep. But is that the way you need the defenders to be? Someone has to drop deep so you can play out from the back. Is that the reason he was probably slightly deeper than the rest of the back four?
No, he shouldn't be there in that moment. That is also obvious, and he knows that. But for the rest, as you see, it was a good performance from him.
What would you like to see different on Wednesday night? Are you likely to have any of the injured players back?
I want to have the same attitude, and that is what we have to learn from the lesson against Palace. As a United player, you can't play like this. You can't play in this shirt with this badge, with this attitude. We need always the spirit as we had today. Today we had players on the pitch who took responsibility, and that is what we expect also from them in every game. So definitely also on the Wednesday night when Newcastle is coming over here.
Any chance of anyone back?
I don't know. And we have to be safe as well. We have also a cup final to play, and we can't risk players. We have to bring players back, but yeah, it's obvious we have so many problems, especially in the back line. We want to have players back, but also we have to do it with some common sense.
Well, I suppose, Martin, the most important thing from an Arsenal point of view is just to get the 3 points and get out of here. That's all that matters at this stage of the season.
Smash and grab. I think Arsenal, though, were more than that today. Really good professional performance. You know, if you want to be champions, we don't know if that can happen yet, but you're certainly in the mix. You've got to grind out these sorts of evenings, and I thought they were immense, particularly at the back. So, you know, whenever you win here, it's sort of, you talk about titles, don't you? Certainly in my era. And maybe we're talking about it this year as well for this group.
And that is why I think post-match Mikel Arteta was so keen to stress the mentality of his team.
Yeah, I think that's the thing maybe we were questioned last year. They didn't have the mentality to go all the way to the last game of the season. Now they do. It felt at times today, Mark, I was a wee bit nervy at times, but rightly so. At 1-0, anything can happen, a slip over, a mistake, and you know, Man United get back into the game. But I think overall they deserve to get the 3 points.
Those nerves are understandable, aren't they?
Well, of course they are. And you think of the history of this fixture, and I thought it was weighing a bit heavy on the team. They know if they can get the job done, the next one's Everton at home, put that pressure back onto Man City, and you could just feel that tension tingle in the air. And it was a long game for me. Watching when Arsenal went in front, it was nervy, but I just thought the way they were defending, those two central defenders were quite magnificent today.
And we'll come on to them in a little while. As far as the Arsenal goal is concerned, look, Casemiro will get hammered for being about 20 yards behind the play.
Yeah.
And you will do that as well, I'm sure, both of you. But there's a bigger picture to the Arsenal goal.
Well, I look at the build-up. The manager probably has to take a bit of blame as well, because you set your team up. One of the easiest things in training, I think, is your natural build-up, because we know Onana likes to play out from the back. So if you show the piece where he starts, he gets the ball back, and then you want to see what's the setup. I mean, Johnny Evans is the left side centre. I'm not 100% sure where Johnny's going. He's kind of shuffling away to lose in midfield. I mean, the ball ends up at Dalot here now, Mark, at the end, but I don't think they're set up at all to play out. So then Onana's got an option to make. Does he go a bit longer, maybe to Hojlund? But he goes to the left back Dalot, and he's facing the wrong way, and it's a cheap giveaway. It's a cheap giveaway, and then that's just the start of things to come. Again, you highlight Johnny Evans in the middle. Normally you'd see a Pep Guardiola team, they sprint into a sort of left back position, and then Casemiro has dropped deep. Now Onana's got three options, you could say. I think you can see Wan-Bissaka at the bottom screen pointing to go long, because Arsenal have got the press on at this point, and they're just playing into their hands, a high press, and they lose the ball again. And now this is the goal. So you see Casemiro knocks it back. Now Johnny Evans, in my opinion, should drop deep at the left side. He's pointing to Dalot. Then he crosses over Amrabat, and it's all a mess. At this point now, Onana's not got very many options. So what he does, he goes long. They lose the ball, and obviously keep an eye on Casemiro. We know he's not a centre half, but at the same time, at any level of football, you have to sprint up and get in line with the rest of your back four. So he's so deep. Now Havertz is onside by a country mile, because Casemiro's nowhere near it. And now we take a look at Wan-Bissaka at the bottom of the screen as well. Trossard, he never gets across Trossard at all to get a block on to try and defend that back post. And it's all too easy for Arsenal.
Can I put a theory to you as a centre-half, Martin, which is that it's irrelevant, isn't it, whether you're a centre-half or not? Mm-hmm. If you're either a professional or amateur footballer, if you're that far behind, you have got to get out. Don't you?
It's schoolboy stuff. And it's remarkable. He's not a specialist central defender. We saw that against Crystal Palace the last time out.
But that's just not getting out.
Well, now there's got to be some energy, but there's not even any of the defenders urging him to get right up. Now, of course, the ball goes back in, and then Wan-Bissaka, look, it's awful defending. So they're the basics, and that's why we look to Ten Hag and we say, okay, what information are you stitching into the players? You've had a chance to reflect on the Palace game where Casemiro, top player, but he's not a central defender. So change that. And I think the importance is the partnership of your central defenders. And Arsenal showed that today. If you've got strength in that position, then you've got a platform to build from.
And just before we get, I don't want to labour this point, but surely you don't need to be told by your manager to push up. I mean,
the thing about that goal, Mark, as well, if it was the last 10 minutes and he was leggy and he was tired, but it's 20 minutes into the game, so it's not like he's tired at that point. He should be sprinting up. But I think you said off air, at any level of football.
Yeah, but it's knowledge.
You've got to get up.
Desire, knowledge. Get out, join your colleagues, edge of the box.
It's basic. It's really, really basic. Even from a centre midfielder, a defensive midfielder, he should squeeze the pitch.
So much of Arsenal's success this season has been built on their defence, actually. Yes, they are thrilling going forward, but Saliba and Gabriel have played together 33 times this season. They are solid as a rock as a duo.
Yeah, Saliba, Arsenal lost this time last year in the run-in, and I think that partnership is really key. They've been immense, absolutely immense. Gabriel is sort of very physical player, and Saliba is that silky player at the back. And every time the ball went in, they cover each other really well. It's a real togetherness now. Look at Saliba there, seeing the danger. Saliba again, look, it's the vice-like. They just strangle you, suffocate the forwards. Again, they get bodies around. Gabriel, I think they enjoy actually playing together and forming that partnership, and it really is starting to look special. This one's impressive. Saliba doesn't come out. He drops off. The cover's around him, and look how well that he deals with this. Never in danger, assured, and just gets rid of it. And then again here, for me, this is stepping in. This is the top. This is so classy. To see him travelling with the ball, Arsenal under a lot of pressure at that point. Again, the same situation, wants to go forward, doesn't want to go back to his keeper, and it just releases that pressure. And then I think they know that there's no way through. This one probably sums up Saliba best of all, who I think has been one of the players of the year. And he waits for his time, and then puts his weaker foot in, strikes just at the right time. Brilliant, really. And then Gabriel as well, not to be outdone. Look at the way he just swats.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You will both know the importance of a settled defensive partnership, whether it's in front of you like Shay or when you're part of it.
Yep. And for me, it's that, like, you could call it a diamond. I need my goalkeeper behind me,
Yeah.
but obviously Declan Rice in front is sniffing out, putting out fires. I thought he also was immense, but they're such a platform for Arsenal to build on. And they get that defensive shield up, chappers. Everybody behind the ball, edge of the box. It's like the Thames barrier. Could have done with it here today. What's your local river up here, chappers?
It's the Manchester Ship
Well,
Canal,
there you go.
Martin.
We might get that
It's
in.
filling up at the minute.
You're not wrong. We better get out of here quick.
You might get thrown in it on the way out. You never know.
No, but he makes a really good point about that. You know, Raya's got the Golden Glove, obviously the most clean sheets in the Premier League this season, but them two centre-halves, unbelievable. And you mentioned Declan Rice. Let's not forget the job he does as well. Another thing you say about Man United, they haven't had that. They've had so many different partnerships this year. 14 different partnerships. And Arsenal, the two main guys at the back have been kept fit. And what Martin just showed there, absolutely brilliant.
This roof's nearly as leaky as Manchester
I was going
United.
to say, I wouldn't expect shelter from the roof here at Old Trafford. So now it moves on to Manchester City and their game at Tottenham, and the pressure is back on them.
The pressure's on them, of course, chappers, but they've been there before. They've ran the race the last three times. Of course, they can make Premier League history by one of the 4 times. Of course, 4 times Premier League champions, never been done before. And watching the game yesterday at Fulham, they were so in control. I think I was more nervous actually watching than it seemed that the players on the pitch. They just oozed confidence. They just knew the goals were coming. I mean, Guardiola was brilliant at left back. He scored a couple of goals and just.
You're making it sound like it's no problem.
Well, it is no problem. It feels like, I even met some Man City fans yesterday on the way down. It was like they're more nervous about Fulham, and then like Fulham just got swatted out of the way. And now, obviously, people looking at the run-in, the toughest game everyone sort of said was Tottenham away, second last game of the season. And can Tottenham do their favours Arsenal a big favour?
That would be unique if they could do that. I was at Craven Cottage yesterday, and they did play like champions, but they're not champions. Arsenal are making it really very difficult. So it's over to Spurs. Let's see if they can do us a favour.
They obviously don't have a hurdle to get over in the same way that Arsenal did here. So that changes, as Shay says, because they've been there, done it. That does slightly change their mentality.
But also they're not relying on anybody else. They win all their games. They know they're champions. So we're now relying for somebody else to slip up. Ironical, the last 3 games of the season for City are against London clubs. So let's see. There's West Ham to come as well. But Arsenal, the most important thing is Arsenal making this difficult for City, and that Pep's not sitting there with a bottle of red wine tonight as a champion. Arsenal are taking it right to the wire.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say, when I was a kid at Blackburn, they won the league. And I remember the last game of the season, they went to Anfield, and Liverpool beat them 2-1. And I think Jamie Redknapp scored a free. Didn't know what to celebrate, and the crowd as well was all really quiet within Anfield. It'll just be interesting to see what the atmosphere is like on Tuesday night.
It will. Right, let's show you the first set of goals from yesterday.
He's not the only person connected with Arsenal who was suddenly finding a love for Tottenham. Tim Sherwood. This is the first time since 98-99, when Tim played on the final day for Tottenham against Manchester United, that Arsenal have taken it to the last day of the season when they won it in 02 and 04. It was already wrapped up by then. Manchester, just a couple of stats for you. Manchester United have lost 19 games in all competitions, which is the most for 45 years. Arsenal have now won more games in a season since 1970-71, when they won the old First Division title. So they've won more games than the Invincibles did, and any of Arsene Wenger's teams. They've won 27 games this season. That was quite an average game. Do you think Arsenal approached it the right way? Because Liverpool, we talked about this on an eye off air, got involved in a bit of a chaotic game with Manchester United. I think Arsenal were worried about leaving gaps if it were that sort of match.
Yeah, I think it was important to score, obviously. Once they go ahead, I think it completely changed his mindset. I think Mikel was adapted recently in the last couple of seasons. I think he used to be hell-bent on, no, we need to control the game at all costs. But he's evolving as a manager. He's absolutely outstanding at the moment. And what he's done is decided, we have something, we'll protect it. They haven't got too many threats. I think it was a lack of respect, really, for Man United, because he knows they're not going to go open up. They have a few moments, but if we can keep them out there, and just when it needs to be kicked, we'll kick it. Saliba, Gabriel, outstanding. Even Tomiyasu and Ben White, quality. In front, Odegaard wasn't playing in their final third. He was, in there with Declan, and just patrolling and breaking the game up. They've really frustrated Man United, and they just never had the quality to break them down. So I think the manager's turned the page over, I really do. I think he's learnt from last year. There's no accusation levelled at them of bottling it this year. They took it to the last game.
You can't have bottled it if you take it to the last day.
It's just a shame they're up against the juggernaut of a team in Man City, but magnificent Arsenal, and I enjoyed that performance today, I really did. As a coach, when you look at it, you think, OK, wasn't spectacular, wasn't the most entertaining game for the neutral.
Didn't need to be, did it?
But they got the job done. They're efficient now, Don.
Yeah.
They get the job done. They know how to get over the line. It's just a shame that it might be very difficult for them to win the league because of Man City.
You were a little bit more nervy than I was. But watching the game,
1-0's one. I mean, the point is that one goal ahead, you can have a refereeing decision, a deflection, a set piece, a corner, or whatever. Yeah. So, but there is an element of danger still, isn't there?
There is, but I got the impression watching Man United today, they could have been there for 3 hours. They wouldn't have scored. They haven't got any goal scorers on the pitch, and Arsenal were in that sort of state of mind where they thought, if we really push for the second goal, which is what we want and what the club wants and what the fans want, it can be chaotic. And that's where then Man United could try and hit you on the counter with Garnacho because of his pace. They wanted Arsenal to come out and really go at it.
And therefore leave spaces that they might be able to...
So as a player, where Tim's saying they're professional and patrolling, what you do is you just say to the opposition, you're going to have to do something spectacular to beat us, because Declan Rice, I guarantee you, Mark, it would have been one of them games where when the players got in afterwards, it would have been a relief, obviously, because of the scoreline and the win. Mentally, it would have been difficult because you got over the line. But physically, I bet you some of them players, Arsenal players, would have thought, could play another match. Because it wasn't hard for them. It wasn't difficult because they had Man United that way. And they thought, we're not going to open up. That's the last thing we're going to do. If we've got to beat you 1-0, we'll beat you 1-0. There wasn't probably one single Arsenal player, apart from Saliba, that was outstanding. No. The rest of them were just doing their job, ultra professional.
Rest defence. That's what it was. It was like they were in the holes, they were good distances apart. There wasn't gaping holes where they get exploited. There was no room in behind for Garnacho.
Not getting done on transition.
They know Højlund's not going to hurt them. No. They know they haven't got the ability in tight areas. There's no Bruno there today to do anything. Set pieces, you know, they're one of the biggest teams in the league. Very organised, so they're not going to be hurt like that. I think we need to give a special mention with the goalkeeper as well, Raya. I mean, he's part of that back five. And I think he really helped him out with crosses today. Not necessarily the high ones to come over, but the low ones, if they do get in behind, he reads them very well and he cleans everything up and he kills the game. You know, he got booked late on, but that's all right.
Even the small things as well, where probably this time last year, Arteta was probably jumping out of his technical area, desperate for the win, showing all, giving it all out, which makes, and then that transmits to the players. Today, he would have been fluttering inside because it's all about the win. But he looked calm. That's where I think Tim's saying, like, he's learnt a lot from last season.
Well, they're getting better every season. Just will it be enough? Let's have a look at the goal. There was a lot of chat about Casemiro after the Crystal Palace game. And this is quite difficult to watch, this, isn't it?
It's lazy.
A man who's been as brilliant as him, not to sprint out, Don.
It's lazy. It's lazy, Mark. That's all it is.
So he's played Havertz onside by not sprinting out.
He doesn't even do too well from the cross. And I think if you're Wan-Bissaka as well, this is where he's got to really bust the gut now. Go on, go and sprint. You're only talking 5 yards to get level with Havertz.
He knows Havertz is there. He'll be seeing him peripherally.
And Havertz knows he's there.
Yes,
because he's checked
Havertz had a look.
But that's where he should be, probably a yard deeper, but play in that position, and then Havertz is offside. The whole move's killed, it's dead.
But he compounds it, doesn't he?
Yeah, but then I even think Wan-Bissaka, you've got to check your shoulders and look where Trossard... You must smell as a player. We're always checking our shoulders. You must smell and you must see that yellow shirt, that bright yellow shirt. You must smell that danger. Great run from Trossard. That's what makes the goal. But it's Havertz being onside and Casemiro being lazy, not putting the effort in to play him offside. It's so simple.
I think it's really good play from Havertz as well, because he sees where Casemiro is. He doesn't want to go too far towards the halfway line. No need, because he knows he's strolling out of there. So he just keeps himself just onside. But then when he picks the ball up, he hasn't got far to go to the byline. I don't like to be critical of Onana because I think he's had a decent season. He's one of the positives what have come out of Man United season. But Raya would have took that cross. He would have read that cross. He would have been pouncing on it. He would have helped the defenders. I agree. Wan-Bissaka's got to do better. So has Casemiro. Comedy of errors from Man United. Looked from there on that they would go on and take the game away from United, but didn't work out like that. Not because Man United were so good, it's because Arsenal just protected. This sort of performance is like the Invincibles used to do. It was almost like, we've got a game won, we don't need to win it again. And that's exactly what they did. That reminded me of that great team, what Arsenal had in that Invincible season.
What about Garnacho then? Because he's been a bright spark this season. It was really interesting watching the game with you. Tell everybody what you were saying to me in terms of when you have that much pace, sometimes you need to slow yourself.
Yeah, I'm not going to criticise him too much because the young kid's been brilliant and he's played so many minutes this season. But what he's got to try and find in his game is that intelligence when to slow down.
Yeah.
If you think of Adama Traore, who's one of the quickest in the Premier League, he runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Garnacho's starting to do the same thing. He runs as fast as he can. And then he either gets knocked off balance or he's getting crowded out 2v1s. Sometimes you've got to slow down, find another red shirt, just pop it off. You can't take everyone on all of the time.
And here, take it on. You
take another couple of yards.
Yeah.
No one's closing
That was
down.
actually almost the best chance, wasn't it?
Right, then once he gets away, this is the very few times Arsenal allowed him to get in behind, but then find a red shirt.
So good. Saliba, so good.
Again, I'm not criticising him because he's a young kid that's going to get so much better. But look, it's 100 miles an hour. It's fast. He's electric.
Yeah.
But look, he's losing his balance.
Yeah. Do you know what he wants, Don? I mean, I agree. I think he's got a lot of development to do. Hopefully they keep holding, which they do. He's been a positive this year. But the Arsenal defenders hardly ever go to ground.
You wouldn't
Stay
dive
on
in,
their
would you?
feet. You don't dive in because the boy wants you to. Because he takes any touch. He goes to ground far too easy. But like there, he's looking for a foul there. It's not a foul. He's just nudging him off the ball. It's clever defending. But they don't go to ground. They're taught how to defend. That is what Mikel wants. He wants composure in the defending as well as when they're controlling the football. Brilliant, Arsenal.
By the way, it was a good thing the game finished when it did, because you probably just saw that last shot there when Garnacho hit it wide, how much it was raining. It was chucking it down by the end, and Old Trafford needs a refit. We'll do. And it was pouring off, wasn't it? It was running down the...
Game would have been abandoned.
Chris Foy, who's gone home because he's got nothing to do, Chris said it would have been abandoned. The ball would not have been able to roll.
Yeah.
Goodness knows when they would have fitted that in. Right, come on then, let's have a bit of fun. Tottenham to do Arsenal a favour. That's what everybody wants. The league wants somebody else to win it.
Are you now a Tottenham fan? Well, you are, because I've seen you singing upstairs Tottenham songs.
I'm saying Glenn Hodler text going,
Let me tell you, right, when I was growing up, we was red or white in North London. My dad, all of a sudden, for the first time ever, is a Tottenham fan. And he wants to go to the game and
he wants to go, does he?
And this is incredible. I mean, I can't tell you how incredible this is, but there will be no Tottenham fans in that stadium who want Tottenham to win. And it's strange because Tottenham still have their own prize to go for.
Completely. Particularly if Liverpool were to win tomorrow night against Villa.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I just think it'd be very difficult. But like you mentioned that game when we went to Old Trafford, Les Ferdinand scored for us, you know, and it looked like we've done Arsenal a favour by beating Man United. Well, we scored very early. And the Tottenham fans who travelled always travel well in their numbers. None of them celebrated. The whole ground went quiet.
So
it was the first and only time Les Ferdinand scored at Old Trafford. No one celebrated.
What's the atmosphere going to be like then? Eerie?
It will be very eerie. Yeah. Listen, there'll be little sections who don't really understand and they just want their team to win at all costs. But it will be strange.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing, isn't it?
It'll be brilliant. I want to see Dad Sherwood with a Tottenham shirt with Sherwood on the back.
So you could see
he's the only one.
He's the only one.
You could see 60,000 fans cheer when Man City score.
This is how it should be, football. In all seriousness, you know, football is so tribal. I completely get it. No Tottenham fan wants Tottenham to win.
It would be the same.
But the Tottenham players, Tim, some of them are playing for their futures here. They've got to ignore that.
Like we was.
Yeah, exactly.
We never give a fault in that dressing room.
No.
No one ever mentioned we could do Arsenal a favour here. We just wanted to win that football match to beat Man United. We knew it was a huge game. The eyes of the world are on it, as they will be on Tuesday night. And it's really important that they play. And they want to be at that great club of Tottenham. Course. They want to play for their futures. They want to impress Ange Postecoglou.
That's the sort of game. Yes, that's the sort of game you play for the name on the back of your shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Playing for yourself.
Absolutely. You convince Ange Postecoglou, who has talked about a big churn this summer. I'm not going to be in that churn. I'm staying here next season and playing some sort of European football. Yeah. But no one in the Tottenham stands will be cheering a Tottenham goal.
Opportunities against a somehow nervous Arsenal team. But Man United weren't taking advantage of. And I mean, you have to really, really hand it to Arsenal. You go away from home, such a difficult game, not playing well and still winning. And that is how you keep yourself in contention. And they've done that today. It's very impressive how they've done that so many times throughout the course of a season where you have to win ugly. You have to win ugly, where things are not going your way. It's not playing the way that you're supposed to play. And they came out of this with a 1-0 win today, not playing well, and in a way winning ugly. And as I say, that this is how you keep yourself up there.
First time Arsenal have ever won 27 Premier League games in a season, and it still might not be enough. They're going to have to win a 28th, that is for sure, but it does go to the final day of the season. They are back on top of the table. They are a point clear of City, who, as we know, have 2 to play. Starting with Spurs away on Tuesday. Spurs will know by the end of Monday whether they can still finish in the top 4. Then it's West Ham at home for the champions. Arsenal back at the Emirates against Everton. Arsenal fans now, of course, will look towards Tuesday's game at Spurs, which is Spurs-Manchester City. If that was to end in a draw or, of course, a defeat, it would be Arsenal still on top of the league. Just a word on their mentality today. To play after City have played twice, know they have to win and deliver a result like that.
I think their mentality has been very good all season. I thought the biggest test came with Bayern Munich and then Villa, those 2 games. And then since then, it's just been, I think they've been fantastic the way they've responded. I think when you're going for a title and City are involved, you probably have to be perfect, and you can nitpick and go back to the West Ham and go back to the Fulham, and you'll probably go to Villa as well, as results you can't really do or have when you're trying to chase City down. And we saw how Liverpool had to be perfect, literally perfect, to win it. And that's the pressure that's on from City, because they're so good. They're so good. This team, I don't think they could do anymore with the squad they've got and the depth of squad. I don't think they could do anymore with the team. I don't think they could do anymore with the squad they've got and the depth of squad. I'm not sure they could do any.
That line and then roll it out when it doesn't really matter, in terms of it could be made to look silly in the future saying that, but no, that's exactly what they are, and it's nice to see as honest.
Many times when you get to this stage of the season, and as you said earlier, don't hit the standards, still get the job done, keep the clean sheet. Is that what win titles?
Yeah, and I think something that Kai Havertz said as well is it's so fantastic to be in this run. It is. When you are in that run, it really is. It's when you come to life as a footballer. Yes, sometimes it's really hard, because if you've been very successful, and in our time we had replays in the cup as well. So if you've been really successful, very often you had game postponed, and you get to this point of the season, and every game has got to be played. Like Man City's got to play this game on Tuesday, so the games are coming thick and fast. And yeah, it's tough, but it's also really good fun, because you're in there. It's all about you and your performances, and it's something to enjoy, because you really don't know when it's going to come again, if it's going to come again. So I really like the fact that he mentioned that it's good fun. But of course, it's hard work as well, and you've got to concentrate. And I think what Arsenal did today, without playing anything like what they've played before, they did the job. They made it really, really difficult. They got the chance. They scored on a mistake. They pounced on a mistake from Manchester United. They got the chance. They scored the goal. They protected it from there. And in reality, even though the stats tell the end, but they never really had the chance that could sort of put them back in the game.
I think when you look at when Man United were attacking, it didn't seem like there was any fluency in what they were doing. It felt like get the ball to Garnacho and then try and do something. Didn't feel like passing through fluid, moving Arsenal around. It felt like, they were hoping that an individual would do something, and obviously this is where they miss someone like Bruno Fernandes, because he's the one that normally can, in a game like this, pull it out the fire. For them. But today, as much as 1-0 is never a result that or a scoreline that you're comfortable with, but I felt like we always had the opportunity of maybe going up another game, scoring a goal, but I still felt you're still afraid for Man United might do something, and I'm glad they didn't.
46 points from 51 they've taken. I mean, that is the title, isn't it? That kind of unbelievable consistency and momentum.
Yeah. Yeah, they will look back, if they don't win it this season. Liverpool will be doing the same for the last nearly decade, but teams will be... It's so hard for teams to... when there's 2 great teams in one era. And there's no question this Manchester City team is a great team. How Liverpool have only won 1 title in the last 8 years or whatever is incredible. And Arsenal might be saying the same in a few years. They absolutely deserve the title this season by the way they play. They would have won it in a lot of other seasons. What could they get? About 89 points or something at the end of it. It's a league-winning season, that is. So yeah, to be to have a great team at the same time as another one is pretty hard to take. But hey, it's not over yet.
Certainly is. As I said to you earlier, 27 Premier League wins, more than any other Arsenal team in the Premier League era, more than the Invincibles, and it still might not be enough to win the league. But do you think Tuesday, ironically, Tottenham is the most likely when you look at West Ham at the Etihad for Manchester City? Is it all on Tuesday now?
I just look at a Man City side that are just, they've not lost this year. Was it 33 wins? You know, I still can't understand how Rodri's not in the Player of the Year, but the fact is that we're trying to ask a team like Tottenham, who have been so up and down, so open, to stop a Manchester City. You know, I can't get carried away with hoping that something happens.
They haven't got a single Premier League point or goal in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Well, this is when we find out. You know, you can hang your hope on that, obviously, but like this is where we find out, because City are in a frame of mind where they know this is it. They can't lose this game if it comes down. City knows that they can't do anything other than try and get a draw out of this game. They can't even get a draw out of this game. They've got to win the game.
Got to win the game.
But they've never played Tottenham in the title race. They've never played at this time at the Tottenham Stadium.
No.
And I think that plays into this is where they are the best. They build up, like Sir Alex used to say, it starts at Easter. They've built up to that, they're thereabouts, and then they're just relentless. They've done it for years, you know. When the Liverpool race last season, you know. Was it 94 points?
Season before.
I mean, 93.
Yeah, 14 consecutive wins. It's just what they do.
So tough.
I don't think
but the
Tottenham
thing is,
can win that game.
You have to. If Tottenham win that game, then it will be something that nobody will be expecting. And of course, we're all hoping that can happen, because you know I think Arsenal have done brilliantly to get to this stage of the season. Coming off of last season, they've learned a lot from it. And you can see how well the players are playing. But again, we're chasing down a team that's going to probably, if they do it, they will be the best team. You have to say they're the best team in the Premier League era because they've done it 4 times. Not even the great Man United sides, they've done it 3. But this is a team what they're trying to chase, and it's tough. The bar is high, but they've done magnificent, and they've just got to keep going.
And as I said, there's so many subplots here. We're going to watch Villa-Liverpool tomorrow here. If Villa lose that, then that makes that game more difficult for City, because then Spurs think, wow, we can win against Sheffield United and finish 4th.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this season, isn't it? We always wanted it as a neutral to go down to the wire. Relegation is looking like it's sorted, but European football is not. And, of course, the big one, the title, is not either. So we're still hoping it goes down to the last day. And whoever wins will be absolute deserving of the title, because 2 teams are absolutely incredible, not much between them at all. But Manchester City, I agree with the lads, I've said it all season, they've just got gears, and as soon as they start needing to win in the last 2 months of the season, we've seen it before. It's they're a hard team to
So you just think 2 wins for City?
I'm starting to believe that both teams will just win all their games now. They're in the zone. They're in the title-winning zone, and I don't think there's going to be a slip-up.
But all Arsenal can do, again, they've got 1 game to go. Whatever happens on Tuesday, it's just win the game and just see what happens.
Yeah, well, that's what they had to go. Like, today was could have been a really tricky one for them, and I think that there was a little bit of nervousness. You heard Mikel Arteta say that we didn't progress the ball and do what he wanted to do, because that's just nerves. But, like, you have to feel that at home against Everton, knowing the last game of the season, depending on what City do, they're just going to do what they've been doing and winning games and getting it done. Because that's what they've got to do now, because that's what City will do. They'll just get it done. They'll try and get it done.
Yeah. Well, it's all on Tuesday.
And there's nothing worse, absolutely nothing worse, with not getting it done, and then done it, you would have won it. And I've experienced that once.
So was Michael. Don't remind him.
Oh, my God, it's the worst feeling ever. we did beat West Ham.
Yes, I remember.
Oh my God,
the 2-2.
And
it was 0-0, wasn't it?
Was that a 0-0?
2-2.
2-2. It was 2-2, man.
And we won't even mention.
To be in this run, it is when you are in that run. It really is. It's when you come to life as a footballer. Yes, sometimes it's really hard, because if you've been very successful, and in our time we had replays in the cup as well. So if you've been really successful, very often you had game postponed, and you get to this point of the season and every game has got to be played. Like Man City's got to play this game on Tuesday. So the games are coming thick and fast. And yeah, it's tough, but it's also really good fun because you're in there. It's all about you and your performances, and it's something to enjoy because you really don't know when it's going to come again, if it's going to come again. So I really like the fact that he mentioned that it's good fun. But of course, it's hard work as well, and you've got to concentrate. And I think what Arsenal did today, without playing anything like what they've played before, they did the job. They made it really, really difficult. They got the chance. They scored on a mistake. They pounced on a mistake from Manchester United. They got the chance. They scored the goal. They protected it from there. And in reality, even though the stats are telling us something different, Man United were not really. They're not close on scoring. There was a little bit of sort of at the end, but they never really had the chance that could sort of put them back in the game.
I think when you look at when Man United were attacking, it didn't seem like there was any fluency in what they were doing. It felt like get the ball to Garnacho and then try and do something. Didn't feel like passing through fluid, moving Arsenal around. It felt like, you know, they were hoping that an individual would do something. And obviously this is where they miss someone like Bruno Fernandes, because he's the one that normally can, in a game like this, pull it out the fire for them. But today, as much as, you know, 1-0 is never a result that you're, or a scoreline that you're comfortable with, but, you know, I felt like we always had the opportunity of maybe going up another game, scoring a goal, but I still felt, you're still afraid for Man United might do something, and I'm glad they didn't.
46 points from 51 they've taken. I mean, as you rightly say, against any other team or in any other league, that is the title, isn't it? That kind of unbelievable consistency and momentum.
Yeah. Yeah, they will look back, if they don't win it this season. Liverpool will be doing the same for the last nearly decade, but teams will be... It's so hard for teams to... when there's two great teams in one era. And there's no question this Manchester City team is a great team. How Liverpool have only won one title in the last half dozen, 8 years or whatever is incredible. And Arsenal might be saying the same in a few years. You know, they absolutely deserve the title this season by the way they play. They would have won it in a lot of other seasons. You know, what could they get? About 89 points or something at the end of it. It's a league-winning season, that is. So, yeah... To be to have a great team at the same time as another one is pretty hard to take. But hey, it's not over yet.
Yeah, and we're looking at everything at the moment. I'm just hearing the rain's got even heavier. Who knows if this game had kicked off at the normal time on a Sunday? Well, this might have even been postponed or halted. Like,
judging by
looking at this,
that probably would have when you look at that.
And this is Manchester, by the way. So that pitch is well drained. It doesn't rain like this all the time, but it rains a lot in Manchester, and that pitch is really, really well drained. It's built to absorb all this water.
So on a Sunday, if we kicked off an hour later like we normally done, we might, who knows? We might not got that completed.
Yeah, and they missed it just in the nick of time as well, didn't they? As you can see there, unbelievable pictures. That would have been quite something, wouldn't it? 15 minutes to go and the rain pours down like that. What happens then? But anyway, do you replay it? Do you have to pull the players off? But anyway, if, buts and maybes.
Yeah, they got it through. And they got it through courtesy of Trossard. We've mentioned his 17 goals. Yeah. He said they only had one effort. He's been a bit kind. They had 5 efforts on target, but clear sightings of goals.
I think this is what he might have been saying, a clear sight. And I think this is where Arsenal were ruthless. And we heard Kai Havertz in these interviews saying that he had a look across and saw Casemiro not coming out, and that is the level that we're dealing with. You can't make a mistake of this magnitude in a game that means so much to the opposition, like Casemiro's doing here. He's not getting out quick enough, like you noticed there, Pete. He's got to get out there quicker. Kai Havertz has seen it. Ben White's executed very, very well, but I think the Trossard's run. Wan-Bissaka, I'm very surprised he's letting get across him like that, but the run is very good. Maybe that's where Casemiro should have went, but he's got in there with pace and then sorted his feet out, because the ball's come across really quickly, Mick. You know what I mean, Mike? When you look at him, he's really sorted his feet out quickly. Look,
yeah,
really simply just to put the pressure on United.
Yeah, I mean, I love that type of finish, because as a centre forward, you're having to. It's all about timing, isn't it, Righty? You're having to guess when, or educated guess when the ball's going to leave his foot. You've then got to time it, thinking, right, the ball's going to go there to there. If I go early, I'm going to be too far past the near post. or I'm going to have to slow my run and the defender gets it. So you've got to be absolute lightning fast, as quick as you can, but time it perfectly. So you've got, you know, and that's all it is, isn't it?
It's brilliant, Trossard there.
Yeah, it's great. The finish is the easy bit,
Exactly, the finish is easy. He's made it easy, but like when Michael explains the amount of thought that's gone into that's got to go from Kai Havertz, his pass has got to have the right amount of pace to get through past the players, get past the keeper, and then the run. I think the run and the timing of Trossard's run, when you look at Wan-Bissaka, who's a very good one-on-one defender, it's just brilliant. And it's one of those, again, it's one of those goals that we take for granted. Oh, he's just a tap-in. But there's a lot of work that's gone in to make that look as easy as it was.
Earlier on, you touched upon...
Can I just,
go on, yeah.
From a defending point of view, obviously there are a few mistakes in there. So what you have here, you got Casemiro. We talked about this before the game. Casemiro is not a centre-half. I think he proved that on Monday night. So when we don't see Onana, right? So we don't see Onana should be pushing up behind him and actually say, go further forward, go further forward. He doesn't do that. He actually stays on the line. You know, so when we talk about being, they don't look like a team.
They attack like that as well. They attack like individuals,
they do.
Don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. And today is a great example of it's all about just when you get the ball, I'm going to try and score a goal. And I'm not going to look at any teammates. I'm just going to try myself. And this is for me as when we talk about standards and you know, these are your options. This is what you can do, or that is what you can do, or we pass it out to there. When we're here, this is what we're going to do. And I think someone like Garnacho today is a great example of how that doesn't work. I mean, we see the goal here again. Look at how spread out United players are. They're not reacting to it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it takes two to tango, doesn't it, I suppose, but us as centre-forwards, us as attacking players, you prey on a weakness, you prey on, you try to force errors. If nobody made any errors, every game would be 0-0. So, of course, we're constantly thinking, right, he's dropped, he's not squeezed up too quickly, right, now Havertz is... And then there's a chain reaction of problems in behind it. So that's what we're preying on. Of course, Peter will see it in a certain way as well, but, you know, there will always be little mistakes, and it's how you punish them, how you capitalise on them, and how you put that pressure on.
But would you always then do the same thing? Or would you try to put a variation into what you do?
It depends what the mistake is. I mean, in that situation...
Yeah, but you would look at it, wouldn't you? When you get the ball,
you react
if you're running if you have the ball, you're running towards defenders, would you always do the same thing?
Not at all.
No, but
and every scenario is very different.
As a fan, I'm sat there, I'm watching... I mentioned Garnacho before. I'm watching Garnacho, who today had the ball so many times on the left. And I'm hoping for him, just now and again, to do something different. But every time, he's trying to finish it himself.
Garnacho gives me the impression that he doesn't play off of it. He hasn't got that person in there to play off, right? So he can go. We have Emil. You know what I mean? Some of the times if I came off and Dennis would be there, or Kevin Campbell, Alan Smith, he's somebody that when he gets it, he seems very, very one-dimensional in the way that he's only going for goal. You don't see too many 1-2s off of him. You don't see him looking to square it inside for his partner and the partner giving him the same thing. And this is where, for his age, and we know that he's capable of scoring great goals, is where the inexperience comes, because the decisions he makes in the final third, at the moment, especially in this game, they weren't good enough.
He needs to be coached a little bit, you know?
That's all it is.
So these are your options. When you get into different situations, you know, you cannot do the same thing every time. Everybody knows what he's going to do now. He's going to go left and try. Okay, he's trying to cross the ball. It's not a great cross, you know, but he kind of, it seems like, you know, he's doing a similar thing every time. Now he's going again, trying to. He's got pace, yes, but he's got players up there. There are options, other options. And if you look at how easy it is for Arsenal's defenders, I mean, this is the one time where he actually is doing it right, but then the finish didn't
7 shots today, none on target.
Exactly. You know, and again, you know, he's going towards goal. It's so easy to defend again. He's not challenging. He's not changing his angle. And I'm not criticizing him as such for it, because he's a young man. He's full of energy. He wants to do, you know, what he's experienced as successful before. But he's up against possibly the best defenders in the league. They will suss him out like that quickly, and therefore you need to put some variation into what it is that you're doing.
As well as coaching, Peter,
That's coaching.
Yeah, it's coaching, but it's also the team. If, for instance, he'd been in your 1990 team, imagine all the people on the pitch, on the training pitch, who would pull him to one side, like years later they did with Cristiano Ronaldo, for instance, when he was going to ground too easily. This squad doesn't have that type of character to help a young player like Garnacho or Mainu, does it?
And when you don't have those characters in the team, then it's down to the coaching staff to help the player maximize his potential. I mean, Garnacho is a great, great player and prospect. He is. He can be one of the best players in the Premier League without a shadow of a doubt, and he's already done really, really good things. But in the last sort of month or two, it's felt a little bit like every time he gets a ball, he thinks he's got to finish it.
Is that because he's been asked too much? I mean, he started, 30-odd games in a row, which, again, going back in Manchester United's history, a young player would never be asked to do, would they?
Possibly. I mean, it depends on his mental state, his mental capability. But, you know, you look at Manchester United's threat, it's hardly a threat. You look at the names on paper, we're still not sure about Højlund. You know, he could be brilliant. He could be, you know, a poor sign. We will see when he gets more. But Ahmed, you know, does a bit. But these are the type of players that probably should be coming off the bench, maybe, you know, to change something at the end. I mean, none of them at the moment strike me as Manchester United. That is a Manchester United player. I mean, you think we keep harping back to a few years ago, but they, you know, the Wayne Rooneys, the Berbatovs, like utter class. Right, you mentioned before, Fernandes, obviously they miss him. He's one player that can do something different. But for a Manchester United team, yes, there's injuries, but even on paper before the game, you just think, is that it? There's no goals in that team.
Well, Johnny Evans, Peter, there uses the word refresh. They've lost for the 9th time in all competitions at Old Trafford today, and that is equalled a club record in their entire history.
Yeah,
I mean, refresh is something of an understatement, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that isn't great. And it's us 14 defeats in the Premier League, which is really, really bad.
A new Premier League record as well.
Yeah, that's really, really bad. Now, we know that there are new owners, new leadership at the club. It is something, it's a hope. You're clinging to that hope that they will come in and make some tough decisions.
Have they got big plans? We saw you when Michael and I were covering the game at Chelsea, sitting next to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So we did promise, didn't we, that night, when Peter was next with us, we'd ask him, what's the inside track from Sir Jim?
The inside track? Well, first of all, Sir Jim, he's a proper football fan. I mean, he could be on the terraces and singing all those songs and actually saying whatever he feels like in whatever moment. And that was quite refreshing to have somebody who loves football like as much as that, and also loves Manchester United the way that he does. I mean, he's coming in at a time where everything is falling apart from decisions made over the last 10 years. That's how I see it. So there is an opportunity now to draw a line and say, from now on, we do this. There's already, I mean, we've seen from the media, it was always, you know, something about an email and he's done this and people are complaining about that. But changes are going to hurt. They are going to hurt. Something's got to give. And that is my hope that this summer, that something big, a big statement is going to be made. That tells me as a Manchester United fan that we're now changing direction. We cannot continue in the same way. We cannot keep believing that we can buy players and buy our way out of it, because we tried. We have really, really tried. We are the football club in the world with the highest net spend in the last 10 years. We can't keep doing that. We've got to be clever. We've got to develop players as the club has always done for their most successful periods. We've got to be smart and scout really well, do the diligence on players, make sure that we get the right type of players in. When we look at the squad today, we've got one team, or the squads, we've got one team challenging for the championship, we've got one team not challenging for it. The one team, they've got every position covered on the bench, from the bench, and you will not really see the difference when they make the substitutions, other than a little bit more energy but the quality won't fall. But for Man United, you see all the young players who's never played in the team before. They are then being asked to come in and do that job. That's not what Manchester United is all about. It's not. And, you know, what are the changes going to be? I don't know. People crying for a new manager, people crying for certain players to leave. We have to wait and see, but something's got to give, for sure.
And it's not going to be a quick fix, whatever happens, is it?
No, I would say not. I'd say not, but although, you know, someone like Mikel Arteta came into Arsenal as opposite number today, and you'd say that that's happened reasonably quick, isn't it? Listen, it's not
in as bad a shape as Man United are now, though?
No. But
there was a lot of players that had to go, though. He had to do a lot of work behind the scenes.
And that's hard. That's harder sometimes than getting players in, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you'd also say that Manchester United would have the financial clout to accelerate the process better than Arsenal back at that time. But Mikel Arteta's done it, and, you know, done it really well. So, you know, it can happen, but it's not gonna happen in a year or two, is it? They're not going to win the league again.
Well, one of the big problems is, of course, that players have been signed for very, very high transfer fees, which has to be appreciated over a certain number of years. So they've had to sign long contract, 5-year contract, at very, very high wages. You know, and if the players that you've signed are not good enough, are they gonna leave? I mean, there are certain players at the end of their careers. Are they going to leave and then leave all that money behind? I don't think so. So they're still there, and they're still in, you know, in consideration with FFP, you know, which is something that United really have to be careful about now. So it's not as easy as we think to make those changes, especially getting players out, players we don't want there. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Sir Jim is doing, but hopefully he's going to do something.
He's made changes in the background, hasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, the main one he's got to do is the main job at the club. Sir Alex Ferguson always used to say the most important person in the club is the manager, and they've got to have that right. But once you get the right manager, then I think you can start accelerating that process. But the chopping and change, the uncertainty, the lack of results, the lack of a plan, the lack of everything that we see, the lack of progress, full stop. I mean, you've got to get the right manager.
After the game on Monday night, you were very, very clear about what you thought about the manager. You said he's got to go. This is unacceptable. Now it's been nearly a week now. Have you made any thoughts about what you think would be a good person to put in there instead?
I mean, we've all heard of the rumours that possibly could be. I mean, we're hearing that the likes of Gareth Southgate, Graham Potter, people like that. You've now got Thomas Tuchel that's available. There are names out there. There's no real standout that I would think you've just got to go and move quickly and go and get him. But I just think, you know, I know you've always got to have a plan after you make a decision like that, but this current manager fills me with no confidence whatsoever. And, you know, what are Manchester United going to do? Wait for the perfect candidate? You might be waiting a year, 2 years, 3 years. In the meantime, going to keep being served up this? I think you almost just got to make that decision, and then, you know, I'm sure they're searching as we speak.
You know, the thing is, Mike, is that I was reading some of the stuff that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was saying about trying to build structure and trying to build a structure where the club plays to a certain like Ajax, which is something that Ten Hag was used to, and then you just bring the coaches in. Now, if that's the way they're going to go, then you probably feel like he might feel like, well, Ten Hag can operate in that situation, so we'll have to see how that works out. But to build that kind of structure in a club like Man United from the bottom all the way to the top, so as then you can only bring in the coach, is going to be a long process. So it's going to be interesting to see how they actually do that. But something's going to have to give in the summer. We need to find out what's going to happen. And it's quite interesting times for Man United now.
Certainly is. OK, interesting summer ahead. Let's, though, get the immediate thoughts from today. The 1-0 defeat from Erik ten Hag. Well, Manchester United, the most points they've ever finished off the top of the league is 35. They're 32 at the moment. He thinks the supporters have been paid back somewhat today.
No, I don't think that. I think with him, with Ten Hag, it's one of his problems doing these post-match interviews, but I'm not sure he knows precisely what to say. He's trying to be honest, and he's someone who analyzes a lot. So he's spending the next couple of days looking at the game, preparing for the next. He hasn't had that time. So he will probably see a lot of what we've seen today when he looks back at this game. But I don't think he's excelled in his post-match interviews, because he came out one week saying that his team was the most dynamic and entertaining team in the Premier League. They've just beaten Sheffield United 4-2 in a game where they were 1-0 down and 2-1 down as well, and a little bit fortunate to get to 4-2. And I don't know why he's doing that. It could be a deliberate thing to divert from other things, but, you know, I don't think he's excelling in that. And, you know, sometimes I'm worried about, you know, what's going to happen going forward if he's the one driving the bus. I am. I have to be honest. You are as well.
I can't imagine any Manchester United fan sat there at home watching that is going to be, that's my man. Well, you know, great motivation. Yeah, I get that. It's, oh wow. If that type of interview, we don't know what the plan is on the pitch, and after that, how long was that interview? About 4 minutes. I'm even more confused than I was beforehand. I mean, was there any sense in that? Mentions injuries a lot. Okay, whose fault's that? Whose fault's the injuries?
I think that's
not yours. It's not yours. It's like, he's the manager. It's his club's problem. You know,
Like
why are you blaming everyone? Why
you know, everyone gets injuries. It's the last thing you can say, Mick, for me. Talking about injuries, I think that if you're going to... What they should be doing, they should delve down into their injury department and the medical department and find out why so many players are taking so long to come back. And when they do come back, they break down again. We've seen it recently again with Mason Mount. Not saying that Mason Mount's pulling trees up at the moment, but...
No, he played on Monday and he's injured again.
He's injured, and so those are the things, again, that is part of what they're going to have to look at. Because if you can get Man United's first team out, then you probably feel like they're going to cause teams more problems, without a shadow of a doubt. Looking after the injuries and getting people back is vitally important to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Quickly, go on.
No, I'm just saying, having worked with someone like Sir Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson always, I mean, he had this saying, like, the season starts in March, you've got to be thereabout. Yeah. But also, he never, ever wanted us to train very much. 45 minutes, maximum an hour. So not putting pressure on the players in training, not putting pressure, because it's difficult, it's hard to play all these games. So I just have a suspicion that there are other principles being brought in from other countries, other leagues, where this is how we've done it. And it sometimes doesn't work on the Premier League. Sometimes you gotta compromise on maybe some of your principles, that you gotta train the day after, you know, day after a game, you gotta train. But sometimes it's better for you to have 5 days off, you know, and just 2 days training. And so Alex would do that because mentally, you got to be ready for the games. It's not about the numbers on, you know, everything is measured up. It's not about that only. It's also about what you see and what you feel. And sometimes I just feel like that's not really in there anymore.
I remember that time he gave you a week off, you and Scholesy, do you remember? You went to Barbados, Scholesy went to the Lake District. I left playing really, really badly. I came back playing really, really well. Yeah.
Because now you know, not playing, but playing what I was supposed to do.
Michael in Sandy Lane, and then there you were. Yeah, brilliant. How the other half live?